At this point now, it looks like after that incredible experience in the park, when we asked the ancestors, are we welcome here? Are we welcome here? And to understand, Washington Square Park is an ancient burial ground for people of indigenous. It was original black burial ground right out here. So we're standing on top of ancestors. We needed to ask them, do we belong here? Or perhaps we should take it someplace else. We were asked the question, and now we're going to spend the next 3 days in consultation with the spirit and with our family to see if we can resolve. We've got to resolve this problem. We cannot go another step to prepare for the 21st. This is the most exciting time. Late Larry Neal, bless his heart, he's on the other side. He says if we blow this opportunity and do not do and create the last of what is there for us, if we do not make an impact, we will have lost the greatest opportunity. There will not be another opportunity for us.
If the name of the game is survival, Garland Thompson, nobody exemplifies survival better than you as the producer of the Frank Silvera Writers Workshop, holding it together against all odds. I'd just like you to tell us a few things about why you are participating or brought this about, this event.
Well, first of all, to the ancestors, they've given us instructions that we're at a very critical juncture. People of color, indigenous people, all of our mother children, we must come together. We have they've given us one more grand opportunity. We must come together. We must pull the family together all in a tight circle and light the cook fires, put the children to bed, and for us elders to decide, where are we going to go? Are we going to go into some other egocentric? Are we going to go into Eurocentric? Are we going to go into Afrocentric? What direction are we going to go? We must create a new world, because this one is over. This one is over. It's for artists. I would not be in theater. It's healing. For me, it is healing. When I go to theater, that's church. I go there not to play. I go there to pray.
So we've come together to heal from the wounds that we've all been insulted with?
Right. We have been warned. We were warned in the mid-'80s that the 90s would reach a point, and we're preparing for the 21st century. We're given this opportunity to gather all the family together in a very tight group. Now, to discuss what we need so we can leave a paper trail for our children, so that we can grow new people for the theater and create a new world. And we want to talk about each and every one of the problems and sort of exercise this demon that is separating us. If you want to ruin a cook fire, scatter it. Let's bring it together. Let's bring it together. So this is why, and we thank NYU and Earl Davis of the Institute of African American Studies and Robert Taylor. They had the vision to bring us here. They said, all we said is give us a big room, security, and get out of our way.
You know what's going on right here.
call and the spirits say that we should be here. But what I'm trying to ask you is, has everything been going smoothly for you? Did you have any problems? I mean, I know of the struggle that it involves black theater and those who participate in it from whatever end. I just want to know, was it smooth for you, or was this a bit of a struggle? I mean, did the university, were they open to your idea at all in the beginning, or did it ever change?
They had no idea what we were going to do. They had simply no real idea. But Heartbeat, all we need is one key person to say, I'll take a risk with this. So then when we had others who were blocking us in each way, then there was just simple confusion. Within the last 3 weeks, we were dealing with a whole breakdown in communication it had nothing to do with anything but the university simply operate on a different, they're very lineared, and we operate in a different world, in a different mode. So we had to go home and figure out, why aren't they communicating with us? Why do we need to have a special series of permits to go stand in that park? Why can't we stay in that building past 5 o'clock? So we're trying to get past a series of rules and regulations within academia, but we must do this. We have to do this.
Hello, Lisa Renee Whitfield. Thank you for being here. We'd just like to ask you, what exactly are your duties with this organization, what we're doing today? Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lisa Renee Whitfield, and I'm one of the producers of the conference. I'm an Tisch alumna, and I'm a producer and an actress as well. And Duke Aramu and Earl Davis, Garland Lee Thompson, and Robert Taylor, and myself, we all planned this entire event.
Well, why is it necessary to have something on black theater survival in 1992?
Well, that's because right now theater in general is at a very desperate state, and we want to show that black theater is here to stay forever, and that this is just to generate more energy for black theater.
Thank you. Duke, you've been involved in the survival of black theater for a very long time. Yes, I'd like you to just tell us a few things about yourself.
Okay. Basically, I'm a playwright. I graduated from Hunter College and started my first theater at 20 years old. Basically, I love the arts. I dance, sing. I'm a director and a producer. To me, we're approaching the 21st century. And last summer, I went to North Carolina to the National Black Theater Festival, and at that conference, I met Lisa Renee, who was in one of my productions. At that point, I realized that as a PhD student at NYU, that before I left this institution, it was necessary for me to leave my mark here. We found as students there were no black books on theater, there were no plays in the libraries, there was very little recognition in the textbooks. So I felt that it was my responsibility to leave some kind of an impact on this university in terms of what contributions have been made in the last 50 years by black Americans, black Caribbeans, Africans, Latinos, and this is what we're trying to do.
So this is to bring together all of the people of the diaspora, basically?
All of them. In fact, Luis Reyes Rivera, who's a Latino poet, will be here tomorrow. We need to communicate. We have very few years before the 21st century. We're either going to do it now or we will not do it at all.
What do you expect to get out of this conference?
Well, to
What
me,
do you hope?
To me, this is what I call a tribal reunion. We're all from different backgrounds. Some of us have Native American ancestry. We're from different parts of the continent. We needed to have a conference together. We need to go in our house and talk among ourselves and say, okay, you're in Atlanta, what are you doing? I need money. I need to bring a show of mine to Atlanta, Georgia. How can I facilitate bringing your work to New York? We must connect. One of the problems that I find is that we are just too isolated in our own regions. We do not talk enough. Lisa Renee lives in New York. She attended NYU, and I did not know her until last summer. That is really ridiculous. As artists, we must connect across the United States, and we have to connect across the continent. We have, even on the panel, we have Africans that have come in from Africa to participate, because if we do not connect, we cannot survive.
Thank you.
I represent the 40th District in Brooklyn. I am a patron of the arts, period, but I'm also a graduate of NYU. And so when I was told about the conference, it was important for me to come because I am one that go to the theater all the time and is certainly a promoter of all of the arts.
And I am delighted that for the first time, I am sure, where's Ruth Newman? Ask Ruth to come in. Ruth, I want to introduce you to the person who's in charge of the gallery. And I am sure the gallery will never be the same. This is the first time ever in life that we have had dancing in the gallery. Where is Ruth? I do want to introduce her, but I want to welcome you all. We are absolutely delighted to co-host this conference. I want to bring out my hello there. Hello. Everything comes down to an economic issue. And so, of course, I want to introduce the co-sponsor of this, Helen Kelly. Reception. We just felt that a conference such as this needed to be treated like it is, which is all the way up there. We are so excited about you all being on campus this weekend, and we wanted to begin it with a celebration. And so we thought this would be a perfect place for celebration.
I'm less concerned about it from the point of view of a successful workshop interaction where people have to like do a thing with each other and make it real, okay, than I am from the point of view of a theatrical crafts person who has to get up night after night after night and put on a performance and be able to make it fresh and to be able to always have a structural frame of reference so that the thing can work. But if you're less than a superstar, which most of us are, you have to be prepared
do something
to physicalize, and that their dynamics are not just there because they're free to express ideas, but their dynamics are structured because they have thought about it, they've worked with the director, they've worked with the other actors, and everybody knows what to expect from each other in terms of energy, in terms of space, in terms of pacing. It's a nice idea to think that one can be spontaneous and create spontaneity all the time, but we know that there are those matinee shows that it's about craft, okay? It's not, you can't always get that kind of juice going. So that's fine. So what other things do you have to draw upon as far as being able to get up with a cold, without a cold, however you feel that day, hungover, whatever, and make the thing happen? Sometimes it's a matter of just transcending your feeling, and other times it's a matter of just working with the space and with the dynamics and with the visual imaging as a layer of your character interpretation. You cannot always do the same gesture the same way over and over again and have it be fresh, if it's just done from the point of view of this is a spontaneous occurrence, when it becomes no longer spontaneous. I think it's somewhere around the 7th or the 8th performance where your craft better kick in. So you can like preserve the things in the movement that are working, that really are working, that are making the character work. You have to, from an internal point of view, have some sense, some understanding of which gesture, which movement needs to be toned down or built up as you begin to develop your interpretation of a character, so that you are, to some extent, in control of what it is that you're doing. It is not an accident. It is not an accident. One of the stories that I like to refer to, when I first came to New York, I had an opportunity to see Kirk Douglas shoot a scene coming out of a very fancy restaurant, Park Avenue building. And what they did is they had like 3 cameras, and they had Kirk Douglas, and they had all these people around. And he came out of the door, walked 4 steps, stopped, looked back into the building, turned back around, took a cigarette out of his mouth, dropped it on the ground, stepped on it, went over to the limousine door, stepped back, let them open it, and got in precisely the same way about 16 times. He was almost, my first thought was, the man is like a robot, you know? But then when I watched him, what I saw was it was not mechanical. It was exact. And obviously he had decided this is what he wanted to do. And his focus and his changes and the beats and the timing and all that was probably to accommodate the fact that instead of just camera people laying back and zooming, they moved the cameras for different takes to different distances from him. He did not say a word. It was all about just getting out of a door, stopping, looking back, hitting a cigarette, dropping it, stepping on it, walking to the car, getting in the car. And what I realized right there on the street was the man was dealing with choreography.
Wait a minute, this is not going to work. You know, if I want $50,000, I go to Motown and spend 2 months with Barry. Okay, I won't spend 2 months with someone who can invest for $1,000. So it's really a matter of that, you know. And also, you've got to believe in the play you're producing. It's got to be, the play is a part of you, you know. Like almost any play that's produced on Broadway, especially by off-Broadway by black people, or these people who run non-commercial theaters. Like if you're a playwright, you know, I probably could read your play and tell you what producer would produce it tomorrow. He may hate you, but he's going to produce that play because it's a part of who he is. Like if you've never been to my theater, then you can't send me a play because you don't know what I'm about. But if you've been to my theater and seen a play, or seen a lot of plays, you really know what to send me. You know, you may not be writing it, you know, so you say, I'll take a chance on, you know. But if for 8 years I've been trying to do a play on Malcolm and kept failing, and you say, I got one on Malcolm. Well, if for 8 years you've been saying, this guy's really been trying to do a play about jazz music, and he keeps failing, but I got one, you know? Then no matter what I feel, I'm going to hold that play, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to meet with you and try and shape it differently. I'm going to try everything because that's what I'm about. It's about my growing up from childhood into adulthood and those things that affected me in life. And those are the same things that affect me in producing. What we must have, folks, to work in the theater is an ism, something to believe in. We can be communism, we can be nationalism, radicalism, Africanism. It does not matter, but you've got to believe in something.
And we talked about philanthropic organizations, you know, giving us those kinds of funds so we can expose our audiences. Well, one of the things that I guess I'm heavily advocating, and Leon knows I'm, you know, real gung-ho about this, is the development of a strong lobbying / advocacy kind of organization, because there are corporations and foundations out there giving that money. They just ain't giving it to us. You know, and I think, for example, the Lila Wallace grant You know, now I can work on $1 million grant. We'll get $1.2 million to bring in black audiences. And we've had all of these black theater companies all over the country doing it for years and years. But white folks getting that money. And part of it is there has not been a black voice that has said, that money should be going to us. Now I've developed a proposal that says, let us target all those other people that are not a part of this survey. Those are the people you want in your audience. And when Stan Wojciechowski took over from Lloyd, he came in and he said, well, you know, I feel that, you know, you got 10% of the plumbers, 10% of the lawyers, 10% of the doctors. That's who your audience is. I moved into the community. The mailman tells me he's getting ready to retire. What do you like to do? You like to fish? You're an old black guy. You know, you like to fish? No, I don't like to fish. Like to hunt? No, I don't like to do that. What do you like to do? I like to go to plays. It is truly 10% of all those kinds of people out there. So what we want to do with this $1 million is inefficiently target and market to all those communities that haven't been reached before.
What happens in your theater and what happens in terms of your ability to raise money or even be allowed to do your theater or your kind of theater will have to do with what's going on in the rest of the country. You touched on it when you said we have to vote. We have to vote to get that voice that reflects back on what Asante said about being able to lobby for money. We can't lobby for money if we don't vote, because then we don't have a voice, so it doesn't count. So it's all tied up. But you must educate yourselves. I just want to hold this up for those of you who might be from out of town. It's called the Theatrical Index. I have it. You can come up and get the address from it. It comes out every week. And it is an absolutely necessary piece of paper for anyone who wants to think about producing. It gives you the names and addresses and phone numbers of what's coming in, what's going out, Broadway, off-Broadway. It doesn't include off-off, but it does include off-Broadway, regional theater, touring companies. It gives you a list of producers and a list of agents. If you want to know what's going on, one of the first things you have to do is educate yourself in terms of what's going on outside of your community. Hazel Bryant used to always say, don't dress like how you are, dress like how you want to be. Always aspire to. Go to TCG, find out what a membership to TCG is about. Understand what TDF is about and how it can help your theater. I think that that's the first part of being a young independent producer, which I feel I am.
I'm with Woody King, Jr., the director of the New Federal Theater and also very involved in the Black touring circuit. It is a pleasure to be with you, Woody. I just wanted to ask you, what is it like being a producer over a number of years and having to survive in the climate that does exist and seeing theater evolve and productions evolve for African Americans?
Well, the climate changes sort of like with each political concurrence in the country. And I came into the theater as an actor in 1959, 60 in Detroit, where there was this movement into the Kennedy years. And so into the Kennedy years, we developed a small theater in Detroit, and that theater grew into a major theater through the Johnson administration. And sort of like, I think what politicized me at that time was the fact that the Kennedys was very popular, Malcolm X was very popular, and Dr. Martin Luther King was very popular. And I use popular in terms of guiding us politically. And so we had something to believe in. And therefore, if I read a play and I believed in that play, then I would do that play. I think through certain years of the meism of Nixon and Reagan, where it was about individualism, that changed the American theater drastically. It changed the funding of theaters like the New Lafayette, the funding of theaters like the Negro Ensemble, because theater is a collaborative. It has always been a collaboration of all involved, the artists, the technicians, the audience, they're all one, and the audiences come from the same place as the artists come from. The artists come from the same place as the technicians come from, and they're talking a common language. As long as everyone in a room is talking a common language, they can communicate. Once it's about individualism, a commercialism, a financial stability, then everybody's sort of like talking on a different wave. I think you will find that same kind of divisiveness in the current American theater, certainly in current television, certainly in Hollywood, where it is, no matter what is being said, no matter how much they tell you how great you are, it's about commercial development of a system that you're not a part of. That's the same way with Broadway and off-Broadway. No matter what they say, they can say you're one of the greatest artists in the world. It means absolutely nothing, because the bottom line is, what will a person pay to come in the door? If they can't pay $35 to $65, then they're not interested in that product.
So black theater, African Americans involved in theater have to be beyond commercialism. That can't be the guiding reason.
They cannot be about commercialism working in a nonprofit theater. They can be about commercialism because whether I'm dealing with Lou Gossett or Denzel Washington or any people who are in the commercial business, I must remember that they get paid $10,000 or $20,000 a week. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time dealing with them.
Mr. King, you obviously are very political, which is something that perhaps not everybody would say, but hearing you speak, I understand that you must be political in order to continue and be astute in the survival of your theater as you have been.
Yes, I think so. I think the nonprofit theaters depend on federal, city, state funding. In order to get federal, city, state funding, you must be able to deal with those people who run those funding situations, yes. And they must believe that you have a constituency that will deal with them if they don't support you. And that is a part of it. To the extent that we lose that by becoming commercial, then those people who are in the federal, city, and state funding situation will say, look, I don't have to give him anything because no one's going to say anything if I don't. And that happened with major institutions, whether it's the Negro Ensemble Company, whether it is off-Broadway or Broadway. I mean, they're not going to do any black plays off-Broadway unless it's a singing and dancing thing, because if they don't, no one's going to do anything.
So what do you think will come out of this conference? Do you see anything we can give the lip service and say, we know what it's going to take to bring us together? Do you really think a tremendous collaborative effort will come out of this conference?
I think the best thing that we can hope for in a conference like this is like there are a lot of people from around the United States here at this conference, and they will know that they are not isolated in Michigan or California or Cleveland. We're all talking about the same thing, and that is the survival of a people, the survival of an art form. And that way, our networking can be put into very good use, because suddenly I actually have a name of a person in Cleveland I can contact. Suddenly I actually have a voice and a face I can put together in LA or San Francisco. And I think that's very important for a conference like this. I think also the fact that a university like NYU is hosting this conference, and it is one of the richest universities in the world, and yet at any session you won't see more than 3 or 4 white people, is absolutely appalled. I'm appalled. It's abominable, you know? It's like this conference is being done with a sort of like hands-off, a certain sort of like distance. The university said, okay, we'll get involved, but if we endorse it, we must acknowledge you exist. And if we acknowledge you exist, then we got to also acknowledge the fact that we are not, how can I say, we are not dealing with the black students here, even though they're paying $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 a year for tuition. We're not dealing with any black productions here, even though we have black students here. So they're not going to acknowledge this conference. Okay, the fact that it's in New York is really amazing, because for someone to come to New York from Detroit costs about 4 times as much as it costs to come to Winston-Salem from Detroit, because hotels and transportation, just getting around. So I think this is a major, major step in the right direction.
Okay. Before I open the floor for you, I'll just make a couple comments. In terms of the marriage, I guess I'm either a hermaphrodite or incestuous, because as you know, I'm a writer and a director and a producer also. But the basic thing that shaped my attitude in relation to the marriage is the fact that I have a writer's sensibility. And that writer's sensibility allowed me, once I disciplined myself and took a perspective on the fact that I had the power to do other people's work, that I had to discipline myself as a writer to perceive what I consider the best